I want you to just take a second and think back to, well, the strangest, most uncomfortable job interview questions you have ever been asked in your entire life.
Oh man, everybody has at least one of those.
Right. Like put yourself right back in that chair. You know the vibe. The fluorescent lights are just buzzing overhead. The air conditioning is like way too aggressive.
You're sweating through your shirt anyway, though.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And you are sitting across this faux mahogany table from a panel of hiring managers. And you've already survived the gauntlet.
Yeah,
You know?
you did the hard part.
Yeah. You recited the resume flawlessly. You gave them that perfectly sanitized version of your 5-year plan.
The one where you pretend you want to be a middle manager forever.
Right. And you even navigated that dreaded, what is your biggest weakness trap.
Oh, by pretending that working too hard is somehow a character flaw? Classic.
A holo classic. So the tension in your shoulders is finally starting to release because you think, hey, I am at the finish line.
But you're not.
No, you are not. Because then the lead interviewer leans forward, steeples their fingers, and hits you with a hypothetical curveball.
Yeah, and I mean, those moments are entirely designed to rip away the prepared script.
Totally.
When hiring managers introduce a bizarre hypothetical scenario like that, they are basically trying to strip away all your rehearsed professionalism.
They want to see the real you.
Right. They want to see the raw cognitive processing underneath. How do you negotiate the unexpected? How do you handle a sudden shift in authority?
And, like, does your problem-solving style actually align with their weird internal corporate culture?
Exactly.
Well, today we are taking a deep dive into what happens when that exact scenario goes spectacularly, unimaginably wrong.
So wrong.
We are looking at a really extraordinary piece of source material today. It's a transcript derived from a video by the YouTube channel, The Chris Barnett.
It's a wild ride.
It really is. It documents an interview process that, I mean, it doesn't just deviate from the expected script, it completely obliterates it.
Yeah, obliterate is the right word.
We are going to unpack a wild subversion of one of the most famous philosophical dilemmas in human history. And we'll see what it reveals about the bizarre and honestly sometimes terrifying priorities of modern corporate environments.
I mean, this transcript serves as such a fascinating case study for that.
It really does.
You basically have this collision of a standardized, almost cliche corporate assessment tool with a mind that operates on a completely different, highly chaotic frequency.
Highly chaotic is putting it mildly.
Right, but it forces us to look at the boundaries of thought experiments and, the dark underbelly of business jargon.
So let us establish the exact parameters of the scene for you, the listener. An unnamed candidate is sitting in a room, wrapping up what has clearly been a very stellar interview.
He crushed it.
He really did. The interviewers, and the transcript identifies one of them as Chris, are openly praising him.
Yeah, they literally refer to him as an impressive young man.
Right. The mood is triumphant. The candidate is essentially holding the job offer in his hands at this point.
He's practically hired.
But before they allow him to leave the room, they introduce what they frame as and this is a, quote, fun little experiment.
And that phrase, fun little experiment, in a professional setting, it carries an immense amount of hidden weight.
It sounds so harmless, though.
That's the point. It is a masking term. The interviewers are downplaying the gravity of the assessment to lower the candidate's defenses. But it is unequivocally a test of psychological boundaries. They are asserting their final bit of authority before they conclude the interaction.
Okay, so the specific test they deploy is the granddaddy of all hypothetical scenarios.
The trolley problem.
Exactly. For those of you who might only know it as like an internet meme, the setup presented to the candidate is pretty stark.
Very stark.
A train is barreling down a set of tracks. 5 people are tied up on those tracks, completely immobilized.
Right, they can't move.
The train will inevitably crush them. However, you, the observer, are standing next to a lever.
The famous lever.
If you pull that lever, the train will divert onto an alternate set of tracks.
But there's a catch.
Always a catch. The complication is that there is one person tied up on that second track.
Right. And in the realm of ethical philosophy, this scenario is constructed as a closed system.
What do you mean by a closed system?
I mean, it forces the subject to choose between passive inaction, which results in a higher death toll, and active participation, which minimizes the death toll.
But active participation makes you a killer.
Exactly. It makes the subject directly responsible for ending a life.
Right.
In the context of a corporate interview, hiring managers typically expect a candidate to fall into one of two very predictable camps.
Okay, what are they?
They either demonstrate a utilitarian approach, arguing that pulling the lever is necessary to maximize the greater good.
So sacrifice the one to save the five.
Yes. Or they demonstrate a rigidly rule-based morality, refusing to take an action that directly causes harm.
Even if it saves more lives overall.
Right.
I have always felt that presenting this in a job interview is just inherently ridiculous, honestly.
It's pretty weird.
Like, what kind of job requires you to weigh the moral value of human lives on a random Tuesday morning?
Hopefully none of the jobs we're applying for.
Seriously. But setting that aside, the candidate in this transcript does not pick either of those standard paths.
Not at all.
When the interviewers lay out the options do nothing and 5 die, or pull the lever and 1 dies, the candidate's immediate instinctual response is to reject the premise entirely.
Yeah, he just straight up refuses.
He simply says neither.
And the interviewer immediately pushes back against that rejection. They try to clarify the parameters by stating, those are the choices.
Right, they're like, no, you have to pick one.
But the candidate's response to this is explicit and crucial to literally everything that follows in this transcript.
What does he say?
He says, I just don't think I should play this game.
Wow.
Yeah. He is intuitively identifying the trap of the closed system.
The sterile lab you were talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thought experiments operate like sterile laboratories for morality. They demand absolute adherence to their artificial rules.
Right. You can't bring outside stuff in.
And the candidate recognizes that engaging with the premise forces him into a paradigm of mandatory culpability.
I'm struggling to understand why he views it as a game he shouldn't play, rather than just like a weird question to humor them on.
It's a fair point.
I mean, if I'm in an interview and I want the job and they ask me a weird question, I just play along.
Most people do.
Is he just being stubbornly difficult for the sake of it?
Well, it is not mere stubbornness.
Oh.
By refusing to accept the binary choice, he is actually questioning the authority of the interviewers to dictate reality.
Oh, that's interesting.
When they demand he choose between 2 terrible outcomes, they are forcing him to accept responsibility for a manufactured tragedy.
A tragedy they made up just to mess with him.
Exactly. His reluctance is a rejection of their authority to place him in that moral bind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Look at how the interviewers attempt to corral him back into the exercise. They insist he must participate.
Using those classic corporate phrases?
Right, like clearly hypothetical and just an exercise. No wrong answers here.
Which is an incredible claim to make in a job interview.
It's a blatant lie.
Every single question in an interview has a wrong answer. If you ask me my greatest weakness and I say embezzlement, that is a wrong answer.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to hire the embezzler.
They are clearly lying to him to get him to comply.
They are attempting to exert dominance. By insisting there are no wrong answers, they are minimizing his valid discomfort.
Just totally brushing it off.
Right, and forcing him to play within their constructed sandbox. They want to observe his decision-making process within a highly controlled environment.
An environment where they hold all the structural power.
Precisely. But what they fail to realize is the magnitude of the disruption he is about to introduce.
Because he finally agrees to step into that sandbox.
Oh, he steps in, all right?
He does eventually relent. He gives this very hesitant, okay, all right, yeah, I'll play.
But the moment he capitulates, he completely changes the nature of the engagement.
Yeah, he doesn't answer the prompt. Instead, he asks a question that completely shatters that sterile laboratory environment you mentioned.
A very simple but destructive question.
He asks, how many people are on it? Referring, of course, to the train.
And the interviewer's reaction to this question is highly revealing. The transcript shows they are visibly baffled.
And annoyed, honestly.
Yeah, definitely annoyed. They immediately dismiss the question as irrelevant. They accuse him of overthinking a simple question.
You just want him to pull the lever or not.
Right. And this exchange isolates the fundamental tension here between theoretical philosophy and practical lived reality.
How so?
Well, a thought experiment deliberately isolates variables. It demands you ignore everything except the lever, the tracks, and the people tied down.
The vacuum.
Yes. But the candidate aggressively refuses to accept that vacuum.
It honestly reminds me of those high school physics exams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where the problem asks you to calculate the trajectory of a falling object, but it adds the caveat to ignore air resistance.
The bane of every physics student.
Exactly. But this candidate is operating like a professional skydiver taking that exam.
That's a great analogy.
The skydiver looks at the paper and says, I cannot ignore air resistance. Air resistance is the only thing keeping me alive.
Right. If you ignore it, you die.
If I ignored it in my calculations, the parachute fails. You cannot just arbitrarily strip away the laws of reality and expect a functional answer.
That is a very apt comparison. He recognizes that a train is not an abstract metaphysical force of destruction.
It's not just a plot device.
Exactly. It is a physical, mechanical vehicle explicitly designed to transport human beings.
So by demanding to know the occupancy, he is dragging this whole thing into the real world.
He is forcing the abstract thought experiment into the concrete physical world.
And the interviewers clearly just want to get back to their planned assessment.
Yeah.
So they concede the point.
They give in.
They tell him, yes, it's a commuter train. Yeah, it's full.
And his reaction to this is wild.
The candidate's reaction to this new data point is visceral. The transcript notes him muttering, Jesus Christ, as if he has just been handed a grim medical diagnosis.
Like it's real life.
But then his demeanor shifts entirely. He delivers this incredibly chilling line.
What was the quote?
He says, well, with this newfound information, my path is clear. My path has been illuminated. It is obvious what I must do.
Yeah, the lexical choice of my path has been illuminated is so striking.
Sounds like a supervillain origin story.
It carries a quasi-religious, almost prophetic tone. He is no longer framing himself as a victim of a forced choice.
He's not trapped anymore.
Right. He has suddenly achieved total clarity of purpose.
And this is the exact moment. The entire dynamic of the room fractures.
Totally breaks down.
We are no longer listening to a candidate navigate a corporate ethics puzzle. The tone shifts into a terrifyingly calm tactical briefing.
It's like a military operation.
Yeah, he transitions from an applicant into a cold-blooded strategist. He begins by dissecting the original options, starting with passive inaction.
Okay, let's break that down.
He explains that if he does nothing, the train kills the 5 people on the tracks. But the one person tied to the alternate track survives.
The standard outcome of doing nothing.
Exactly. But he identifies this survival as a critical flaw.
And it is essential to analyze his reasoning for identifying that survival as a flaw.
Right.
Because in a standard utilitarian framework, saving that one person would be considered the only slight silver lining in a terrible tragedy.
But he doesn't see a silver lining at all. He looks at that one survivor and says, he knows what I've done. He's seen it.
Yeah. This represents a complete abandonment of the moral axis.
What do you mean?
The candidate is no longer calculating how to save lives or minimize harm. He has fundamentally redefined the core problem.
So the problem isn't the people dying anymore.
No. The problem is no longer the impending death of the people on the tracks. The problem is his own personal liability.
Wow.
He rejects the passive option solely because it leaves a witness to his inaction.
Wait, I need to push back on this liability angle for a second.
Sure.
If he is standing by a lever and just doesn't pull it, is he actually legally liable for the 5 deaths? I mean, the train was going to hit them anyway.
Right. He didn't.
Sorry, the train.
By doing nothing, he is just a bystander. So why is he so terrified of a witness seeing him do nothing?
Well, that assumes he is operating under normal legal logic, which it clearly is not.
Clearly.
In his hyper-paranoid framing, the mere presence of an observer who can testify that he had the power to intervene and chose not to, that makes him vulnerable.
Vulnerable to what, though?
Public backlash, mostly. The witness transforms him from a passive bystander into an active participant in the tragedy, at least in the court of public opinion, if not a literal court of law. He is optimizing his strategy purely for the total eradication of any narrative other than his own.
Which brings us to the introduction of option C.
The chaotic third choice.
He has established that he cannot pull the lever immediately because that kills one person, but leaves the 5 original victims alive as witnesses.
5 witnesses are bad. And he cannot do nothing because that kills the 5, but leaves the one alternate victim as a witness.
Even one witness is unacceptable.
Right. Since both standard options leave survivors who can point a finger at him, he engineers a third path.
And what a path it is.
He tells the interviewers, I wait for the perfect moment when half the train has passed me by. Then and only then, I pull the switch.
Okay, we must consider the mechanical reality of this action.
Let's do it.
Pulling a track diversion switch while a high-speed, fully loaded commuter train is halfway across it, that will cause an immediate catastrophic derailment.
It would rip the train apart.
Exactly. The front half of the train will attempt to follow one path while the rear half is violently wrenched onto another.
And he outlines this outcome with terrifying pride. He explains that this simultaneous track diversion will instantly derail the massive vehicle, causing it to sweep across the entire junction.
Wiping out everything.
Everything. By doing this, he proudly states he is, quote, taking care of all of our tied-up problems.
Problems, wow.
He ensures the destruction of the 5 people on the main track, the 1 person on the alternate track, and, as a consequence of the derailment, the deaths of every single passenger on the fully loaded commuter train.
The scale of the escalation is just difficult to overstate.
It's exponential.
He has taken a scenario designed to test the limits of harm reduction and completely inverted it. I want to closely examine a specific phrase he uses to justify this mass casualty event.
Okay, what is it?
He calls it equality in death, as it were.
Yeah, that phrase completely threw me when I read the transcript.
It's a tough one to parse.
How on earth does killing a train full of innocent commuters equate to fairness? It sounds like the logic of a comic book villain, not a guy applying for a mid-level management position.
It really does, but it is the logic of absolute weaponized nihilism.
Weaponized nihilism.
Yes. The standard utilitarian approach seeks to achieve fairness by minimizing suffering. Saving the 5 at the cost of the 1.
Doing the math on human lives.
Right. The candidate, however, decides that any calculation of varying value between human lives is inherently flawed.
So you can't weigh one group against another.
Exactly. If choosing one group over another creates a moral imbalance, he resolves the imbalance by reducing the value of all groups to 0.
Oh, that is dark.
In his framework, true equality is only achieved when no one survives to question the fairness of the outcome. He maximizes destruction to entirely eliminate the moral dilemma itself.
The audacity required to sit across from hiring managers in a real job interview and pitch a catastrophic derailment as a valid solution to a workplace hypothetical. It's just staggering.
It takes a certain kind of confidence.
I want you, the listener, to really picture this room. He's looking at these professionals in suits and referring to bound innocent victims not as human beings in peril, but as tied-up problems that need to be taken care of.
The phrasing is so detached.
The dark humor of the transcript relies so heavily on this stark objectification.
It is the ultimate dehumanization. The people on the tracks, the passengers on the train, they possess no agency, no intrinsic value, and 0 emotional weight in his calculation.
They aren't people anymore.
No, they are merely variables in a logistical equation that must be balanced. And honestly, the true horror of his proposal is that the catastrophic crash is not even the end of his methodology.
Right, because he factors in the unpredictability of physics.
Exactly. A violent derailment doesn't guarantee a 100% mortality rate.
People survive crashes all the time.
So he outlines a post-crash procedure.
A cleanup operation.
Yes. He calmly tells the interviewers, I need to check the wreckage for any of those who potentially slip by.
The interviewers at this point, seemingly trying to keep up with this descent into madness, ask him why the passengers on the train matter to him at all. Like, why do you care about the people inside the train?
And his response is a masterclass in sociopathic deduction.
It really is. He says, trains have windows. There's families on that train, and you can see through windows.
He is identifying a security flaw in his plan.
The windows are a flaw.
Yes. The physical construction of the train allows for bidirectional visibility. Therefore, any surviving passenger is a potential eyewitness who could place him at the lever during the derailment.
I want to look at the exact vocabulary he uses to describe hunting down survivors in the wreckage, because it's wild.
That's very corporate.
Very. He justifies this grim task by stating he is ensuring there are no loose ends to tie up.
Loose ends! Unbelievable.
He plots out making an exit just prior to emergency services arriving, and he concludes his entire pitch with the ultimate corporate sign-off.
What does he say?
Efficient, right. Problem solved.
The dissonance there between the action he is describing and the language he's using is just profound.
It's like 2 different worlds colliding.
He is applying the sanitized clinical jargon of project management to mass murder. Loose ends, efficient, problem solved. These are phrases you use when closing a quarterly marketing campaign.
Not when navigating a field of twisted metal and bodies.
Exactly.
You know, the phrasing reminds me of the most ruthless forms of corporate strategy.
Like what?
Specifically, the mechanics of a hostile takeover.
Oh, that's an interesting parallel.
Think about it. When a massive conglomerate decides to absorb a competing firm through a hostile takeover, they do not just buy a controlling share and let the competitor continue business as usual.
No, they want total control.
They aggressively dismantle the entity. They liquidate all physical assets.
Sell off the desks and chairs.
Right. They terminate the existing staff to break institutional memory. They sell off the intellectual property, and they metaphorically salt the earth by dismantling the headquarters.
Erasing them from the map.
Exactly. The goal isn't just acquisition. The goal is the permanent eradication of the competitor as a variable in the marketplace.
So they can never come back.
And that is precisely the methodology this candidate is applying to human beings. He is systematically liquidating every single variable in the trolley problem to ensure zero future complications.
Your hostile takeover analogy perfectly captures the structural mechanics of his thought process here.
Thanks. It just felt so similar.
The candidate has internalized the mandate of the modern corporate problem solver to a pathological degree.
Pathological is the right word.
If the defined problem is the existence of witnesses to my actions, the most efficient solution, completely devoid of ethical constraints, is the systematic elimination of all human presence in the vicinity.
It's twisted, but it tracks.
The internal logic is flawlessly executed. The inputs are monstrous, obviously, but the processing of those inputs aligns perfectly with ruthless corporate optimization.
So, he finally finishes his pitch. He leans back, seemingly satisfied, and says, "Problem solved. Yeah, I think we're all set. We're good. Thank you so much for the opportunity."
He just wraps it up himself.
He wraps up the interview on his own terms. Now, if we are operating in reality, this is the exact moment the hiring managers slowly slide their hands under the table, hit the silent HR panic button, and stall until building security arrives.
Right, because a man just calmly detailed a terrorist act in their conference room.
Exactly.
Yet the transcript reveals an entirely different reaction.
It really does.
The interviewers do not recoil in horror. They erupt in enthusiastic validation.
Oh, they are absolutely giddy. Like, as the candidate leaves the room, the interviewers turn to each other and start heaping praise on him.
Genuine praise.
We hear one say, "Talk about thinking outside the box." Another chimes in, "I was thinking the same thing."
They love it.
They categorize him, saying, "That guy is a problem solver." And then they give him the ultimate badge of corporate honor.
What's that?
I mean, the cojones on that guy to flip it around, a new route.
This reaction elevates the transcript from a simple comedic sketch into a devastating razor-sharp satire of contemporary business culture.
It's so sharp it hurts.
The interviewers are completely oblivious to the sociopathic reality of the proposal because they are entirely blinded by the aesthetics of the delivery.
I am having a really, really hard time believing these interviewers are genuinely impressed.
You think they're faking it?
Could they just be humoring him? Like, maybe they are just saying these things because they are terrified of him and want to make sure he leaves the building peacefully.
It's a logical assumption, but if we closely analyze the text, their enthusiasm lacks the hesitant markers of fear.
You don't think they're scared?
Not in that moment. The phrasing, "the cojones on that guy," is an expression of genuine, admiring shock. They are not trying to placate a threat. They are marveling at a display of dominance.
Wow.
Modern corporate environments frequently fetishize specific behavioral markers. Things like disruption, assertiveness, the ability to move fast and break things.
And the confidence to challenge the status quo.
Exactly.
So you're saying they literally did not process the mass murder part of the pitch because the candidate used the correct buzzwords?
Yes. They processed the form of his answer while completely ignoring the content.
That is insane.
In their framework, the candidate demonstrated high-level initiative. He refused to accept a lose-lose scenario, he gathered new data, and he formulated an aggressive, out-of-the-box solution with absolute certainty.
And the fact that the solution killed everyone.
The fact that the solution resulted in catastrophic loss of life was treated as a secondary, irrelevant detail compared to the boldness of his strategic vision.
This highlights a massive, glaring flaw in how we evaluate leadership.
Absolutely.
Think about the metrics used to promote executives in major industries today. How often is the aesthetic of leadership rewarded over the actual substance of the decisions?
Oh, all the time.
If a newly hired CEO comes in, confidently slashes 3,000 jobs, guts the research department, and sells off critical infrastructure just to make a quarterly spreadsheet look profitable, they receive the exact same praise these interviewers are giving out.
Because the spreadsheet looks good.
Right. The board of directors will sit around a mahogany table and say, "What a problem solver." The cojones on that guy to make the tough calls.
You are identifying the core danger of sanitizing destructive behavior through corporate jargon.
It's a real problem.
When a culture prioritizes the appearance of efficiency and the mechanics of problem-solving above all ethical frameworks, it inherently rewards sociopathic behavior.
As long as it looks good on a slide.
Provided that behavior is packaged in a confident PowerPoint presentation, yes.
But the transcript does not end with this dark corporate critique. Just as the interviewers are basking in the glow of their chaotic new hire, there is a final, abrupt twist that completely shatters the scene.
Yes, the conclusion of the transcript introduces an entirely new psychological dynamic.
Okay, so the candidate has exited the room. The meeting has ended amicably with exchanges of take care and see ya.
Very normal professional wrap-up.
The interviewers are alone. Then, without warning, the candidate reappears.
He comes back.
He steps back into the room and delivers a line that is so jarring, so wildly out of context, it practically gives you whiplash reading it.
It really does.
He casually states, "Oh, I just forgot my dick."
Now, treating this transcript as a factual account of human interaction, we must analyze the profound impact of this specific sentence.
How do we even analyze that?
Functionally, it serves as a catastrophic breach of the formal reality they have constructed.
Right.
Throughout the entire interview, regardless of the horrifying nature of his derailment plan, the candidate maintained an unbroken professional veneer.
He sounded the part.
He utilized the correct cadence, the expected vocabulary, and the appropriate posture of a corporate strategist. He wore the mask flawlessly.
And with that one bizarre sentence, the mask doesn't just slip, it disintegrates.
Precisely. In the field of sociology, Harold Garfinkel pioneered a concept known as breaching experiments.
What are those?
The premise is that social reality is held together by invisible, unspoken scripts and norms.
Like how we know to face forward in an elevator.
Exactly. To expose these scripts, sociologists would intentionally violate them in minor, mundane ways, like acting as a polite guest in your own home, or standing facing the back wall of a crowded elevator, just to observe how deeply unsettled people become.
So, when he walks back in and says that line, he is executing a massive breaching experiment on the interviewers.
Intentionally or not, yes. The human brain relies heavily on predictive coding.
We hear what we expect to hear.
In a corporate boardroom, the brain expects corporate language. It is prepared to process terms like synergy, metrics, or even taking care of tied-up problems, because those terms fit the established acoustic environment of business.
But this line definitely does not fit.
But the candidate's final statement is a linguistic anomaly. It contains crude anatomical slang completely divorced from any logical context.
It makes zero sense.
It shatters the established reality so violently that the interviewer's cognitive processing literally stalls.
It is a total system failure. The transcript shows the immediate aftermath of this cognitive reboot. The spell is instantly broken.
The illusion is gone.
The corporate trance they were trapped in evaporates. Following this bizarre breach of decorum, the final line of the source material is one of the interviewers suddenly, terrifyingly, comprehending the reality of the past 10 minutes.
They finally get it.
The interviewer stammers out, "He's gonna fucking kill," and the transcript abruptly ends.
The delayed realization is fascinating.
It's so tragicomic.
The cognitive dissonance was finally too great to ignore. The bizarre statement acted as a catalyst, forcing the interviewers to retroactively reevaluate the entire interaction without the protective filter of corporate jargon.
What I find so incredibly darkly comedic about this exact moment is the timing of their panic.
What do you mean?
I want you to really think about what caused them to realize they were in danger. It wasn't the meticulous step-by-step logistical plan for mass murder and evidence destruction.
No, they loved that part.
They listened to that plan, nodded along, and thought, wow, great leadership material. It was the unpredictable, surreal breach of basic social etiquette at the very end that finally snapped them out of their delusion.
It perfectly illustrates how heavily human beings rely on tone, presentation, and adherence to social scripts to assess danger.
We just look at the packaging.
As long as the candidate sounded like a businessman, his plan for mass casualty was categorized as thinking outside the box. The danger was masked by decorum.
But once the decorum dropped,
The second he abandoned the social script, his underlying instability became immediately apparent, and he was correctly reclassified as a threat.
we have covered an immense amount of ground here today, so I want to synthesize the journey we have just taken through this bizarre transcript for you.
It's been quite a ride.
What initially presented itself as a standard, slightly annoying corporate interview tactic transformed into a masterclass in challenging forced perspectives.
We examined the rigid, artificial vacuum of philosophical thought experiments.
And the profound disruption that occurs when someone demands to introduce the messy, uncontrollable variables of physical reality into that vacuum.
We also dissected the terrifying fluidity of corporate language.
It's wild how flexible those buzzwords are.
We analyzed the mechanisms by which the clinical terminology of efficiency and problem solving can be weaponized to justify and even praise immense destruction.
Turning human lives into near logistical hurdles to be cleared.
Exactly.
And we exposed the massive inherent blind spots of a business culture that is so obsessed with the aesthetic of bold, decisive leadership that it completely loses the ability to evaluate the actual moral substance of the decisions being made.
As long as you speak the language of optimization confidently, the system will excuse almost any level of collateral damage.
It serves as a stark reminder of how easily the structures of professionalism can be co-opted by chaos, and how fragile our methods for evaluating character truly are when confronted with someone who refuses to play by the established rules.
It's a very fragile system.
As we conclude this deep dive into the source material, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to consider as you navigate your own professional life this week.
Something to mull over.
Take a hard look at the systems, the metrics, and the environments you operate within every single day. Look at your office, your corporate hierarchy, the goals your industry sets.
Look closely at what is actually being rewarded.
When we relentlessly optimize our daily operations for pure, unfiltered efficiency, and when we elevate problem solving to the highest possible virtue, at what specific point do the human beings involved in those systems stop being viewed as people?
It's a dangerous line to cross.
When do colleagues, clients, or competitors simply become variables in a spreadsheet that need to be eliminated to balance the equation?
Are we prioritizing the outcome over the human cost?
Are our modern corporate structures, with their endless demands for disruption and outside-the-box thinking, accidentally training us to confidently pull the lever on option C without a second thought?
It is definitely worth considering.
It really is. And the next time you find yourself sitting in a sterile room, sweating in a stiff suit, answering a hypothetical question for a job you really want, well, just make sure you know exactly who is driving the train.